start right there. So there we go. 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mayor Shane, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. Nice to see that you're still filling out the office very nicely there.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me on again on Mayor's Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a flower. I was joking that I'm a plant killer, not that by choice, but it seems to be the luck of my green thumb or lack thereof green thumbs. So somebody made me a plant out of recycled rebar. I don't have to water it, but as you can see, it looks like a sunflower because it has a yellow thing in the middle. And I haven't killed it yet. It is turning brown, but I haven't killed it yet.
It's turning brown, but it's still there, and it's a nice coat hanger, coat rack, hat rack.
It's very sturdy and it's very heavy.
Yes. So, and of course, it's a great conversational piece as well as you welcome people into your office, as we just proved right here, spending the first few minutes talking about it.
Refurbished rebar.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, gotta love people that can be creative like that and make a nice story out of something.
Exactly, I agree.
So give us an idea of what you've got going on down there in Wisconsin Rapids. I mean, we had some snow over the weekend. I'm guessing you're still not running over though on the snow removal budget.
Boy, we are, knock on wood, it's been very nice on our snow removal budget this year. So any good year that we can get, we appreciate, because we know other years aren't so good. So hopefully it balances it out, but we know it's coming, but it's just every day in January that we get closer to February is the shorter winter season that we're going to have.
Yeah, and you mentioned some years are good, some years aren't as far as the budget goes. That's actually kind of a big factor, because we have had a couple of years here where you've gone over on your snow removal budget, but that snow removal budget is like a savings account. It's got a lockbox around it, correct?
Yeah, and so we add to it, and you just never know from year to year.
So it would be good this year to kind of add to it, replenish some of those funds that were used a couple of years ago in March and again, knock on wood, April, right?
Well, especially if you have like January, February, March, we get a lot of snow, and then you start the season again in November, and you start getting a lot of snow in November and December. That really makes it for a tough year, because you're getting on both ends, on the front and the back end of the year. So we this November, December is pretty quiet, so it's very helpful on the budget.
Absolutely, and again, we'll hope it stays that way. Now, another thing you're fundraising for right now, and it's actually a complex that's got a new name. I had to ask you about it. We're calling the Aquatic Center Complex. It's the correct me if I'm wrong, Wisconsin Rapids Recreation Complex now, correct?
That's correct. It seemed to have, the Aquatics Center or complex had really kind of stuck, but it's important to recognize that right now we have ice skating going on there. We also have, in the off season or in the nicer weather, is pickleball and the playgrounds and the water features there on the outside of the aquatics park. So we want to just make sure that we recognize there's many other things than just the pool complex there.
And there is a skate park out there as well, correct?
That's correct. So yeah, the skate park's been there for a while, but now it's all kind of complementary to each other.
And of course, that's all just beyond the outfield walls at Witter Field. So really, there is it's kind of a true, especially in the summer, that place is going to be busy.
I think it's going to be very busy. At our last meeting for finance and property this week, there's several improvements the rafters are looking forward to making out at Witter Field, expanding some areas and doing some updating. And so we're looking forward to seeing that coming up this next year in there. And as you said, you can go there, catch a ball game, go to aquatics during the afternoon, or if you're one of the avid pickleball players in town, we have very nice courts there, and they have been well used this fall. And even on some cold days, they're out there. I was quite surprised. They are very dedicated.
Yes, indeed they are. They're very dedicated, and they're very passionate about their sports. I mean, look no further than the pickleball improvements we have here in Wausau, and the number of tournaments they say that they'll go to annually. I know it's something that a lot of people have enjoyed playing here, and especially in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully getting out there this year and kind of experience a little bit. I've never played pickleball. I've never seen it played, so kind of
Mhm.
want to check it out this next year.
And again, I know you're talking about some upgrades or some improvements out there already. You're looking to raise $1.5 million for some improvements out there at that complex. Give us an idea of what that'll be used for.
Correct. Under the previous administration, they had purchased or they had converted some of the when they went to borrow, that some of that money was put together in a short-term borrowing of $1.5 million. And the goal was to try to raise that money so it wouldn't have to be converted to a long-term debt. And in there also is a match grant from Legacy Foundation for $500,000. So if we can match that for $1 million, we can get $1 million that way, and that would be less that would have to be borrowed on that short-term debt. So they say every dollar that we can raise will save $1.30 on borrowing. So we're still trying to do that. We've had a couple large donations recently. We had that one from Connexus for $20,000 as part of the Bullseye Legacy Fund. And then recently at the end of the year, end of December, Wood Trust Bank donated $10,000 also to it. And I've seen lately, we had a $500 donation from a local couple. And so we're seeing those also, which is, it's going to dramatically help taxpayers down the road here.
Yeah, because anytime that you can save money on interest, even though rates are low right now, anything that you can do to help beat down some of those interest payments means that the money will then be able to go towards something else in the community, something else, a recreation project or anything else that's needed, right?
Yeah, and even my conservative spending approach is that it's a bigger fund for an emergency down the road. When something happens, you know, we don't have a lot of debt and we have to take on debt for an emergency. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And so, how can people donate to this fund? And if they would like to make a contribution, I mean, what are you taking? I'm guessing anything big or small, right?
Anything, we'd be happy with any donation, large or small. You can go out to the wirapids.org and donate through the website, or you can call our office at 715-421-8216, and we can help them out here.
Absolutely. And one thing we've been talking about as well that you're going to be taking some steps forward with the next city council meeting is that speaking of saving people money, saving taxpayers money, the proposal to have again sort of that lockbox savings account so that way special assessments aren't put in residents' laps when their streets are redone in front of their homes or their business property. What stage are we at on this? And again, what could this project look like down the road?
Yeah, very exciting. So recently at our Public Works Committee, the committee has adopted, or not adopted, but approved a firm, an engineering firm to help us set it up and kind of design and develop what a street utility could and would look like. And so that will be approved hopefully this next Tuesday at the Common Council meeting. And that process can start to see how that can develop and what that will look like coming down the road. And it is exciting because nobody really considers and even gives any thought to special assessment until you get that letter in the mail from our engineering department saying that, no, you didn't win a prize, but it's going to cost you anywhere from $7,000 to $14,000, just depending on how much frontage you have to pay for part of a street and utilities underneath that we all use. We're all part of the community. Most of us drive on those same roads, and so if we can spread it out over everybody on a much lower cost, I think it's more fair and equitable that way, and nobody has to have that hardship, especially our senior population that's more on a fixed income, have to have that hardship of that large bill.
Yeah, you don't see many people being able to go out and take a job, bartending or something like that on the weekends to bring home that extra tip money. So I think for them, that's one thing that's going to really be a plus for them. As you've talked to other people in the community, now you've had the chance to kind of, this story's out there, you've had the chance to talk to people, interact, or maybe you've had them giving input at meetings. What have people said about this project or about this vision?
Well, I've heard from people that say that we can't get this done quick enough. There's still a lot of questions around it. Specifically, what if I had a special assessment last year? What does this mean for me this year? And how do we overcome, making them whole and keep making sure it's equitable, because they shouldn't be paying their special assessment and paying the utility fees. So we have to work through those options to make sure it's fair. And, I know, and I'm hoping that that's going to be at the forefront of some of these discussions, is making sure that's still fair for everybody and they're not having to pay double basically for that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just a lot of questions on, what's this, what could this look like? Do you have any idea what it's going to cost? And a lot of those answers will come out through this process. And I look forward to seeing how that can be done. And once it gets out there a little bit more on how it will specifically work, then hearing some feedback on that.
Yeah, because as you've said before, this is a project, or this is something that would be unique to the state of Wisconsin. There's not many other municipalities that do this. So you're also going to have people looking at you and saying, okay, how does this work before we consider implementing it on our own?
Yeah, because those projects are funded many different ways. Some communities just fund it through the taxes, and there's a variety of ways, but this isn't a very common way because it's kind of a newer concept, and hopefully we can be on the forefront of something good.
Mm-hmm. And how long do you expect this process to be playing out then, as before you have a final decision on what this could look like?
Well, my fingers are crossed that we will have something by the beginning of 2022 that we can start.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully next year. So this process will hopefully go through this year, and hopefully at the end of the year, we'll be able to talk about a completed project and see what it looks like.
And again, for those that are excited about it, not soon enough though, but again, you want to make sure you do this right.
Absolutely.
One more thing then before we let you go, talking about the Common Council tomorrow, actually, you've got a few other things that you'll be talking about. One, about a speed limit on 2 Mile Avenue from 16th to the east of the city limits. What is prompting this change here? Not something that we always talk about in these settings.
Yeah, so it is unique. There is a stretch of road there that, I'll be honest, I don't know what's prompted the increase, but it is being increased to 35. But also at that intersection, it used to be just a two-way stop, and now it's a four-way stop. So if you get in that area and you don't get there that often, just be cognizant that it is a four-way stop, and there are flags on the stop sign to try to get your attention that it is now a stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also, it's going to control the speed on that road, because without those stop signs coming into town, it was much easier to continue your speeds.
Mm-hmm.
And you start getting into residential areas. But now with the stop sign, everybody will basically start at zero and enter those residential areas at a slower speed.
Yeah, and make it a little safer for everybody, especially when you talk about residential areas like that. I know I'm guilty of it myself. Those stop signs go in there, and you don't always look. You maybe see it, but you don't always interpret it. Exactly. So what you said, there's flags on the stop signs. You maybe going to put balloons or any other kind of streamers out there too?
They're right now, they're construction orange flags that are on, well, there's two on each post, and they are pretty good attention getters. I don't live too far from there, so I get to go through that intersection now, and they do catch your attention.
So, and the fine, just to remind people, the fine for running a stop sign, you got that off the top of your head?
Boy, from my old law enforcement days, I do not remember.
and you don't know from a personal experience here lately too, which is good as well.
Absolutely not. I have not experienced that.
All right. Yeah, that's what we like to hear. We like to keep it that way. Then finally, you've got some stormwater dredging or water dredging on 1 Mile Creek too. You're going to be hopefully approving something on that too. Just give us an idea of what that project's about.
Yeah, so and it's kind of near and dear to me because I grew up on that pond and in that creek there, and I spent many hours fishing and falling in and spending time with neighborhood friends. And so over the years, through stormwater runoff, the ponds and the creeks have started to do their job, and they've been filling up with settlement. And so now it's come to the point where we need to dredge this. And there's some dams in there that had to be figured out, but now that it seems like there's an agreement on removing a dam and repairing a different dam and dredging a big portion of it, that it'll improve the quality for the residents that live on the ponds and creek, that it won't be full of soot, and we should hopefully revitalize some fishing and turtles and crayfish and all the other things you hope to have in creeks and ponds, and it'll be more effective for the stormwater credits we can get.
Yeah, it's kind of a quality of life project that you may not necessarily think of as quality of life when you're talking about going in and handling an ecosystem like that, or dredging things up. But like you said, it sounds like it'll make a better waterfront experience there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be better than what it is. It's really kind of just a shallow, mucky thing, and the quality will definitely be improved. I know from many hours I've spent on that, ice skating and fishing and everything, that it'll be much better for the neighborhood. And also, by us taking it on as part of a stormwater project, we take responsibility for the creek. And so as I was driving by there the other day, because I live in that neighborhood, that there's a tree I see in there. And so in the future, that will be the city's responsibility to maintain that, which will be good for the residents. They won't have to worry about getting trees out of the creeks and ponds, and we're going to take that on and that responsibility so we can get that stormwater credit, which is good for the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anytime you get something like that for the community, it's certainly a win. One more thing then before we let you go, we wanted to talk about election. Of course, you're not up for election, so we can talk about it a little more freely in this situation. We do know now that there will be something for everybody in Wisconsin Rapids to vote on with school referendum issues. Do you have any other positions that are going to be up for election here come April 6th?
We have the odd districts for aldermen, so 1, 3, 5, and 7 will be up. I believe 1 and 3 are contested. District 1 has the incumbent chose not to run, so there's 2 new people seeking that office. District 3, that office is has an incumbent and somebody also seeking interest to run. The District 5 is unopposed. The incumbent's going to run. And District 7 currently is vacant. So nobody's put in to run for that position. So that could require, if somebody's interested, they can run as a write-in, and they need to register as a registered write-in, which is very simple to do. And then the highest write-in person will get the seat.
And then when you're writing in as a candidate as well, you have to be very specific about your name, because if somebody intends to vote for you and they spell your name wrong, then that vote doesn't count, correct?
Correct. Yep. And I can't remember, but it's District 5 that's vacant, and District 7 has the incumbent, and nobody running against them. Had it backwards, but
okay.
Yeah, so it could be interesting. Somebody could run and get 2 votes and be the highest vote getter. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
It'd be a great way to serve your community as well in the process, and get some experience that way.
Yeah, it's very important that somebody, I hope, runs, and that the people in that district have somebody to have an opportunity to vote for somebody, because otherwise, if it's like left vacant and nobody ends up filling that seat, then the common council ends up taking applications, and that common council picks a person for that seat. So the people in that district don't get a choice. And so I think it's important that, those people in that district get to choose somebody to represent themselves on the council.
Absolutely. And then that person would have to serve out a full 2-year term, because they would be coming in at the beginning of a term. So yeah, there really wouldn't be a chance to vote them out or challenge them until would be 2022 then, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So again, how long do people have to submit as a write-in for that position, or again, kind of remind us of election procedures as well going forward for the next couple of months?
Yeah, so I believe the last day anybody can register as a registered write-in is the Friday before the election. So that we're talking all the way in April.
Mhm.
And so they have until then to do that. You know, we don't have a primary, so I don't believe we have a primary anywhere. And so, yeah, it's just gonna have to start now watching for dates and, you know, see, you know, there's a lot of contentious issues surrounding elections right now. And so I have to wait and see if there's any election law changes, and we'll have to watch that and see what comes about in those.
Absolutely. Well, we always appreciate the time, Mayor Shane, and we hope again in the next couple of months or so we'll be able to get down there and be in the same room together.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Have a great one, and again, we'll look forward to chatting again next month.
Sounds great. Thanks, Michael.